All right, we're starting the recording. This is my husband, Josh Sullins. I think you already know that. Josh is going to be talking about strategic health in business with you guys today. So go for it, Josh.
Wow.
You're up. I love you.
Nice, short, sweet introduction. I'll take it. Listen, a lot of the things that we've heard all day long are obviously great things, and all of these people have so much knowledge that I hope you've been able to just grab a hold of some bits and some pieces. I think what I wanted to do for my time is just to kind of be a cheerleader for you for a little bit. Being a small business owner is not easy. And so I think it's important for people to get encouragement. And the really big thing is just to kind of bring you full circle and bring you back to that place of why you do what you do, why you started what you started. And it's kind of like, even from a ministry perspective, because that's my world, the minute that ministry turns into work, then it's not ministry anymore, right? And even though what we do as small business owners is an important contribution to our livelihood with our families and different things like that, if we don't enjoy it, then it's much more difficult for us to be successful at that. So I think it's important for us to remember why we do what we do. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit. The first slide here, obviously, is bringing us into some of the conversation. And the first one is healthiness is vital to the success of our ministry and our business as well. There we go. It's also vital to your success in ministry, but it is vital to your success in your business. And I think earlier in the day, somebody was talking about, making sure that you have that the body and the mind and all of these things together. Will and Courtney, keeping that part of yourself self.
Oh, it's not showing up. Hold on a minute.
Well, that's kind of.
I meant share the screen.
Hold on. There it comes. Yay.
So sorry, guys. Here it comes. Is it there now?
Yay.
Okay.
So to keep yourself healthy in your business and to be thinking about those things, there's some categories that are important for us to make sure that we're staying healthy. Here's just some things you may want to jot some notes or may want to throw them in the chat or whatever. The first one is we got to be physically healthy. Caitlin's obviously doing a great job at that right now. She's out running and getting her exercise in, which I obviously need to be doing. But that's an important part of making sure that we maintain health. Keeping ourselves healthy from an emotional standpoint. In those times in your life, if you just feel like everything is chaotic and you can't concentrate, and you can't get anything done, and you're crying at the drop of a hat, or you're just angry at the world, something obviously, if those are some of the things that you're exhibiting as part of your behavior, your emotional state is not healthy. You got to back off of where you are, really start to do some self-evaluation and start going, okay, something's not right here. We've got to get this thing set back in balance, and I need to reinstitute my health from an emotional place. Another thing is, obviously, I'm going to be an advocate for this, is your spiritual health. If your relationship with God is not right, then obviously nothing else will be right as well, in my personal belief system. So I would encourage you to make sure that you're maintaining a spiritual health as well. And then something that we don't think about often, but it is a huge contributor to our health as small business owners, is the relationships of the people that we have around us. It's very important for us to make sure that we are maintaining healthy relationships with those around us, because if those relationships are not healthy as small business owners, guess what they become? They become distractions. Mm-hmm. And anything as a small business owner that keeps us from achieving our goal is not helping us make money. It's not helping us succeed as small business owners. And so we have to do everything that we can to make sure that we're preserving healthy relationships around us. So those 4 areas are very important as a small business owner: your physical, your emotional, your spiritual, and your relational. Very, very important for you to maintain that healthy mindset as a small business owner. We can't have healthy businesses until we are healthy business owners, and so that's very important for us. And then the last point here on this slide is healthy businesses are strategic businesses. So Sophie was hitting on all of my check marks with all of my boxes with regards to strategy. I'm a huge advocate of strategy. Amy and I sit down sometimes and we'll start dreaming about different things, and we'll start putting all those things together. And I am the guy that likes to lay out point A, B, C, D, E, whatever the steps are that's going to help us get to that place of our goals. So you have to make sure that as far as your business's health, that you have strategy in place in order to help you succeed and to reach your goals. So the question that you need to ask as a small business owner is, what is your ultimate goal? You may want to jot that question off to the side. You may not have asked that question of yourself in quite a while, or you may be just getting started in your small business. If no matter where you are in the length of the time of your small business, you need to make sure that you always have that question in the forefront of everything that it is that you do. What is my goal? Then you have to think about this with relation to those goals. What is it that I need to produce in order to help me reach those goals? If you're not producing something that it is that you want in your business, then it's likely you do not have a system in place in order for that to happen. Mm-hmm. So if you're asking yourself, why am I not growing in my followership on my social media accounts? Well, then my question to you would be, what is your system to make sure that you're growing in your followers? If you're not producing and you're not booking weddings, my question would be, what is it that you have in place as a system that is helping you to book weddings, family sessions, senior sessions, all of these things? You always start at the end, which is your goal, and then you work backwards from your goal and you ask yourself, what is it that I need to do as a small business owner to make sure that I'm producing what it is I want to produce? And again, if you're at any point in your small business where you're not reaching your goals, ask yourself, what is that system? It could be that a system that you've already had in place for a number of years that was producing now needs to be adjusted, mm-hmm. and it needs to be tweaked, it needs to be refined in order to continue to produce the same way that it did 3-4 years ago, or a period of time where it was producing and making positive things happen in the past. So all those things are very, very good. You've got to make sure that you have a strategic business. Going on to that next slide. So the question, how do we succeed? This is a big question, right? I mean, there's 1,000 million, 1 billion different answers as to what success looks like in our business. And every single person's success story is going to be very personal. One of the things that we did as part of the last workshop as a tool to kind of help us realize what success looks like for us, that I encouraged our people to do was this. Not in this moment, because obviously we don't have enough time for that, but this could be something for homework later. No matter where you are in your business, maybe later on this evening or maybe later tonight, I would encourage you to sit down and write a letter to yourself saying, if I could tell you 5 things that I have learned that I know today that I wished I knew way back then when I started my business, what would those things be? So if you could tell your previous self something when you first started, I wished that you knew these things. You've got to know this, you've got to know this, you've got to know this, you've got to know this. This is what you have to know in order for you to succeed in business. Write that letter to yourself. And then when you get to the end of your letter, go back and read it. Here's the cool thing about success. Everything that it is that you tell yourself previously that you need to know in order to succeed, guess what those things are? Those are the things that you need to do today in order for you to continue to be successful. Kind of like a little mind trick, right? You're going through that subconscious, you're asking yourself those questions, and you're digging through those things, and you're realizing what it is that you need to do in order for you to be successful. So that is kind of the answer to all of your questions when it comes to what is it that I need to do to succeed. Keep that letter. You might put it in a drawer of a desk or a notebook that you use often. Refer back to that to remind yourself, these are the things that I said that it was important for me to do to be successful, because I would have told myself that way back a long time ago when I first started. So keep those things in front of you. That will be a huge, huge help to you as a small business owner in order for succeeding.
And really quickly, Lakeland asked, what should we write if we're just starting out right now? And do you have a take on that?
Well, the big thing is if you're just starting, you've got a clean slate. So you have probably the greatest advantage because there's nothing that's written yet. So anything that you want that's a goal for you, anything that's that dream for you, begin to write those things down and just say, these are some of the things that I would like to achieve, or these are some of the things that I would like to do to succeed. And then you can use that kind of as a checkpoint, to go back and as you're moving forward in your progression of your small business and saying, I've done this, I've been able to do this, I've been able to do this, and so on and so forth. And so those are some important things I think as you're starting out, just to dream and just to have fun with that.
Mm-hmm.
On the next slide, we actually kind of lead into that in the formula for success. That first thing that you do, Lakeland, kind of starts with where you are. Dream big. No matter where you are, that vision is very important as a small business leader, and a small business owner. You've got to have that vision. You've got to have that dream. And then as you begin to mold that dream and establish that, then you've got to visualize what it is that you want to do in order to make that dream come into fruition. Begin to start setting goals for yourself. And then once you begin to start setting those goals, start making baby steps toward those goals, making those things happen. There's an acronym that we use in the ministry world and in the business world that's very important that will kind of help you as you establish those goals. And it's actually called SMART goals. I may be getting myself out of order with my slides. Let's see, that's probably, yeah, okay, so let me back up just a little bit before I get into that. We'll kind of go forward a little bit off this next slide, and I'll go in the right order. Can you flip to the next slide for me? All right, so when we talk about the formula for success, one of the things that we have to be mindful of is that success actually comes through failure, right? That's the way that we learn to succeed. And it's okay for that to happen. If you think about a kid, there's so many different kids that are here as a part of this call today. Think about your child. Think about other kids that are around you. Think about when they first learned to walk. How many times did you see a child fall down before it was able to take 2 steps in succession? How long did it take for them to actually get to the point to where they were able to stand without holding on to something? And think about the number of the times that the child fails before it actually learns to succeed in walking and taking those steps and standing. And you think about all of the adults, all the people that were around that child, never once did we discourage that child and say, you can't walk, just sit down. There's no way you're going to be able to do that and stand without holding on to something. You just sit down. Somewhere in our psyche and in society, we find it easier to accept that criticism and that negativity, and we take that and we adopt that into our small business structures. And instead of realizing that our actual formula for success is the failure, we think of failure as the failure and we give up. And that's why so many small business owners do not succeed, is because the first 2 or 3 times they fail, they go, I'm not good at this. There's no way I can do this. But we have to remember that in order for us to truly succeed, we've got to be able to fail. We have to walk through those processes. And one of the things about success in and of itself is when you fail, you do what's called reflective learning. You back off of that moment and you begin to evaluate that experience and you go, what is it that I could change in order to bring about something different? If I didn't hit my goal, I have to change something, because the repeated doing something without anything changing and expecting the different results, we know that doesn't work, right? So small business owners, if we want something to happen that's not happening because we're failing at something, we've got to go back and we've got to change it. We've got to walk back through that failure in order to succeed as a part of that. And then there's one other thing as part of this. As adults, every day, millions of us talk ourselves out of greatness, and we limit our ideas of what's possible, all because we sell out our dreams to somebody else's opinion. Do not do that. Your goals and your visions are just that. They're your goals and your visions. As with anything else, people have opinions, right? But it's ultimately up to us as to whether we sit back and we sift through that, and we have to ask ourselves, what is the truth here? Is there something that I can learn? If there's not something true in that statement, in that opinion, and there's not something that you can learn from that opinion or that statement, throw it away, put it in the trash where it belongs, and move on. Because you can't sell out your dreams and your goals just because somebody else sees something else in a different way. That's not how we succeed as small business owners. It's super important to be encouraged as a part of that. So once we see failure as a negative, then we take our eyes off of the goal, and automatically we're distracted as small business owners. There's no way for us to reach that area of success when we allow that failure and that distraction to take us away from what it is that we're trying to achieve. So put those things into place, keep those things in mind, and continue to push forward in reaching your goals. The last slide that I want to go over when we talk about goals is what's called SMART goals. And in the business world, this is very, very important. There's some things here. There's 5 things here in order for a goal to truly be a SMART goal. It has to be specific. You have to say, I want to do this, and list it out. And then it has to be measurable. So once you say what it is you're wanting to do as a small business owner, you have to say, all right, so how is it that I'm going to measure my success toward this goal? And if it's not specific and it's not measurable, you have not really truly created yourself a goal. Mm-hmm. It has to have those things as part of that. The most important part as part of establishing a SMART goal is we've got to make sure that it's attainable. You can't conquer the world in one fell swoop. It will never happen. You've got to make sure that you're taking small baby steps forward as a part of that. So make sure that your goals are truly attainable. You as an individual have to keep yourself set up for success. Do not set yourself up to fail. You've got to make sure that those goals are attainable. The other thing is you've got to make sure that your goals are relevant. And what I mean by that is the original question that I asked you, what is your goal? What is your dream? If your goals are not relevant to you being able to attain that ultimate goal, then maybe it's not the right goal for you. Maybe you need to shift in your perspective because your goals truly need to be relevant. They need to be moving you in progression more toward what it is that you're trying to achieve in the end game. And then the most important part where I think it is that we as small business owners miss the mark so much of the time is we don't make our SMART goals time bound. We've talked about hashtags. We've talked about social media. We've talked about all of these different things over the course of this day. If you're sitting down and you're making yourself a goal and then you don't put a time on that and say, hey, by the end of this next week, I want to make sure that I've done my first hashtag done. You're letting yourself have an excuse and your goal just continues to just float and float and float and float. But if you can put that time onto that goal, then you're giving yourself something to shoot for. You're giving yourself something to grow with and to attain as a part of that. And it's those kinds of things that in the end, as a small business owner, that can really encourage you, that can really garner momentum, and it can help you reach what it is that you want in the end game. So I want you to be encouraged. I want you to know that you can achieve the goals that you have. You can achieve the dreams that you have. You just got to put the right things in place in order to get to where it is that you want to go, and not let anyone tell you that you can't, because you so can do it. So any questions off of that? Anything else you want to add as a part of that?
No, I mean, Josh has been an executive pastor and a worship pastor for years, and I've watched him. This is not just something he says to you guys. Like, this is how he implements things within ministry and being a pastor, but this is also how we implement things in our business. And if you've been following us for any length of, I mean, you probably all are at this point, are at least connected somehow to Amy Cole. These past few weeks, we've kind of had this come to Jesus moment again in our business. Like, being relevant to where we are now. Are we following a crowd, or are we setting ourselves apart? I've dealt a lot with this just personally. Like, I feel like I've been following a lot and not just setting myself apart as like Amy Cole. Like, I'm Amy, and funny enough, I'm only called Amy Cole in my business world. Like, I'm Amy Sullins. Like, am I who I am every day? The people that follow me, do they understand that I'm me, not following this big name or this big name. I want to be my own individual person, and I don't want to do something and create just because other people are telling me that's what I'm supposed to create. When it comes to details, I laughed this past weekend, and I looked at Josh. I was like, I loved shooting details, but I am not the photographer that has this grand detail. I love simple, sleek. I love clean lines, and that's me. So I need to shoot details like I want to shoot them, not like somebody else is telling me to shoot them, or some other, photographer shoots her details. I've got to learn to shoot them the way that I want to shoot them, because if my clients have booked me, they've booked me because that's the way that I shoot them. I can't constantly be changing. And so that just really goes back to what Josh is saying, the mental health side of your business. And Callie will talk a lot about this tomorrow too. And she's been in our lives so long now. I mean, she's like our family. She's like our child at this point. She comes over, knocks on the door, and she comes in and stays for hours. But that's kind of what I mean by that. Like, you've got to find the mental health inside of the business that you're running. Otherwise, you're constantly chasing someone else's dream.
Right.
And somebody else's dream for your business is not the right dream. It's not the right dream for Amy Cole. It's not the right dream for you, Misty. It's not the right dream for Mary Beth or Michaela or Molly or any of us sitting here. Your dream for your business is not my dream for my business, and it shouldn't be. And the same goes for you guys. Like, your dream for your business shouldn't be mine. We shouldn't all want to have the same followers or the same follower count or the same website or the same bridal guides or the same
poses or the same look, the same editing style.
Even though we're thankful, I said this to a great friend the other day. I said, I'm so thankful for the people that paved the road for me. I am thankful, but I am so ready for a new road. And it's not because they did anything wrong. We just have to learn that this is my business. This isn't someone else's. I don't make the same money that they make. They don't make the same money I make. Their clients are not my clients. My clients are Sophie. Those are the brides that I'm geared towards. You're going to have your clients too. And so I think it's just this part of what we're talking about is so pivotal for our businesses. And this is the part we leave out all of the time. We leave this part out of photography workshops, of social media workshops. You have got to find what works best for you, and you've got to do that well. And you can't copy just the mold that someone else has set out before you. I think that's really pivotal, especially right now in the photography business. If you're a photographer, or even in the realm of that, a vendor inside of that, we all are following a pack. And we're all following a pack so religiously. And y'all know I mean this in love, but we're all following a pack so religiously that we all are starting to look alike. And if we're all looking alike, who's different? Who is set apart? And I mean that in love, but at some point we have to stop that and say, I can't be her. I have to be me. And the people that want to be with me will come to me, and I will find them. If I'm doing the right things inside of my business, those people are going to come to me.
No.
So we've got to figure out exactly who those people are, and we've got to start talking to those people, not to her people, but to my people. And I think that's the big, big, big part that we're missing right now. We're too saturated to still follow the complete crowd. The photography realm, everybody here knows this. It's too saturated for us all to keep walking the exact same road. If we do not branch off, we're all going to walk off a cliff together. And that's the way it's going to look. So mentally, we've got to come together and say, listen, your business is awesome. I will support you. Like, Hannah, your work looks totally different than mine, and I love you for it because you look different than me. That's the way we should be supporting each other. Your editing is different than mine. I shouldn't want to edit like you because that's not my style. You shouldn't want to edit like me because your style is not mine. That's okay. We've got to come to a place to where that is okay. And we're accepting of that in this photography world instead of all of us following straight off of a cliff because we're just following. So,
well, I just think that's important as small business owners. Ingenuity and innovation is missing right now. And if we can stop, and if we can In order for dreaming to take place, we have to have time.
Yeah.
And just like one of the SMART goals, for your business, if you're not setting aside time to dream, that's where Amy Cole Creative came from, that side of the business. It came from a dream. Every business came from a dream. And the moment that you stop dreaming, you're just a robot. You're just doing the same things over and over and over again. And we have to safeguard those things. And we have to follow after the goal and the dream that we have for our own businesses. So it's important.
Yeah. I know we've been very passionate about this. So we have 5 minutes. Does anybody have any questions of us about this? I mean, obviously you can ask questions in the feed. Are there any questions that you have of us about how Josh and I are both very open. We both see counselors. We do that for mental health, period. It keeps us mentally healthy in our marriage. It keeps us, we're going to talk about our marriage and the business in the morning, but we do that. If you do not see a counselor inside of a small business, today is the day that I would highly suggest that for you. Going to a counselor means nothing. That doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It means that you're trying to stay healthy for the people that are your clients. Clients are not always nice to us. I mean, let's be honest, they're not. And that can be a hard thing to deal with. If you don't have health in your heart and your mind, that bitterness can erode and cause a reaction onto your client. I know that. I've been there before. Like, don't talk to me like that. Like, I'm your photographer. I know what I'm doing. Like, I've had moments like that. If you haven't, good job, because I don't know how some of these mamas of the grooms or the bride, sometimes they'll come at you and you're trying really hard to maintain that relationship. At the same time, you're like, I'm not a servant for you. I am here trying to create something for you. So if we don't have that health in our heart, a lot of times that can cause the ugly stuff to come out onto our clients. We don't want that.
I think the big thing for us, and I know you've got some other things you probably want to say, is you've always got cheerleaders. If you need somebody to cheerleader, to encourage you, to talk with you, to counsel, to coach you, to whatever, it doesn't matter. I mean, there's no charge for that. We'll cheerlead for anybody that needs it, because we all need that kind of stuff. So, and
I've already told you that I followed all the big name. I mean, y'all know this. I posted this. I followed all big name photographers about 3 weeks ago. I talked to my counselor. She said, you need to do this. Like, it's evident you're very passionate about this. Do it. I only kept a couple that I'm connected with closely and I'm friends with. And I went and followed a ton of people that are new to this game that need our help and need to be cheered on. And it has been life-changing for me, not because they're doing anything for me, but because I'm cheering for them. I am giving to them instead of waiting for somebody that's never going to cheer me on. I'm just being honest. I'm waiting for somebody that's never going to cheer for me to validate me, and they're not going to do it. So if instead we turn that and cheer for others, I think it would be great. And Lakeland, you asked a question, what if you come from a family totally against counseling? I know that you're a high schooler, so while you're in your home, I would want someone to say this to my child. I think you should respect the home that you're in this moment. As your parents, I think you need to respect the home that you're in. And then once you move past that and you are on your own, then you can then make the decision for yourself.
But there's nothing wrong at the same time with having a confidant and a friend that may be close to you.
Yeah.
That can encourage you as a friend. It's not that you have to go to some professional person and pay them for that kind of advice. We all need close friendships around us.
And as you're seeking out that friend, you need to make sure that that friend is truly an accountable, trustworthy friend before you do give that. But while you are in your parents' home, I think you need to respect the leadership that has been placed over you parentally in that. And I would want someone to say that to my child. Running our own race in comparison is a thief of joy. It took me years to learn to do what I love and show my creativity, and that will attract clients. That is so true. It's taken me 10 years to get to the point I am today. I think we all struggle with comparison. That's a photographer world. That's even a vendor world. That's a floral world. I have heard that from every vendor world known. I know invitations. I think Beth's in here still. That's a world that we all live in, comparison. So just know that we're here. We're cheering you on. I want you to write those letters. I would love. You don't have to show your letters, but I would love for you to talk about your letters maybe in stories or something like that. And Miss, you, it's taken me 10 years as well. I find my creativity returning now that I'm not trying to fit in a specific mold. Girl, preach. Preach. Missy and I have already had a little sidebar conversation on this, but yes, I felt so much more creative at these past 3 weddings than I have felt in probably 2 years, because I wasn't trying to do it somebody else's way. I was doing it. I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for 10 years. I know how to shoot a wedding, and I'm doing it my way, and I love that. So, okay, we're going to log off really quickly. So, Morgan, we're going to probably be about 2 or 3 minutes late to the start of yours. But just log right back on. This next one is Morgan. Morgan is going to be talking about Facebook groups. Y'all, Facebook groups have changed a lot about the way I book clients and sessions. But not only that, but the way I build clientele for the social media side of our business. So Morgan's going to talk a lot about that, and that's coming up next. And if you have any questions for Josh, you can leave those in the thing. And I love you. Thank you. All right. I'll see you in just a minute.